My dad left me his library. Floor to ceiling. Hardcovers. First editions. Books with margins so marked, it felt like I could still hear him thinking. It wasn't just shelves. It was him in fragments. In whispers. I asked Mom if I could keep it. She didn't even glance up from her phone. Books won't pay the bills, she said. We're selling it for your sister's salon. Something useful. Useful. Like stories never held up walls. Like knowledge never saved anyone. I begged her. Not once. Not dramatically. Just honestly. Please don't sell them. That room is all I have left of him. She sighed like I was being exhausting. I'm sorry, Ivy. Your sister needs it more. My name is Ivy. And if you think this is a story about heartbreak, keep reading. What happens when the quiet girl in the corner turns the page and writes the ending they never saw coming? They sold the collection within a month. Every volume, every scribbled note, gone. My sister opened her salon with glossy walls and neon signs. Posted hashtags like #BossLife and #Legacy. No mention of what paid for it. I didn't argue. Didn't post. I just wrote. Every day. After work. Late into the night. With nothing left but memory and spite, I poured the pain into pages. By spring, I had a manuscript. By summer, I had an agent. By winter, a bidding war. 6 figures. For a story about grief, silence, and stolen words. The protagonist? A girl whose family sold her father's library to fund a dream that wasn't hers. Sound familiar? 1 year to the week after the last book was boxed, my sister's salon closed. Bad credit. Lawsuits. Broken partnerships. A chair fire. Mom called me the next day. Her voice cracked. Maybe you were right. I stared out my window. Books wouldn't pay the bills? Mine just bought a house. Mom asked if I'd stop by. Just to talk, she said. Your sister's been going through a lot. I said nothing. Because grief makes you quiet. But betrayal? It teaches you how to let silence speak for you. Still, I went. Curiosity, not compassion. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I'd just outgrown it. My sister sat at the kitchen table in sweatpants and a messy bun that didn't look curated this time. No lashes. No filters. She didn't look up when I walked in. Mom offered me tea. Like we were normal. Like they didn't auction off my father's soul to buy acrylic nail stations. Ivy, Mom began, I know what we did hurt you. But you turned out okay, right? It all worked out in the end. That sentence. It all worked out in the end. Like the nights I cried over an empty room didn't count. Like the rejection emails and edits and cheap ramen and grief were just plot devices in a tidy little movie. I looked them both in the eye. No, I said. And it felt good. No, it didn't work out in the end. I worked. I made it work. Despite you. Not because of you. My sister started to cry. I just thought you were being dramatic, she whispered. They were just books. I smiled. Exactly. Just books. Now, they're just money. And just mine. She didn't reply. Mom changed the subject, tried to steer into nostalgia. Your dad would have been so proud of you. I stood up. He was. When he was alive. Then I left. At home, my agent had emailed the finalized cover. My name, bold serif. A title Dad once wrote in a margin. And a quote on the back. She asked for a library. They sold it. So she wrote one of her own. The book dropped on a Tuesday. Small press. Big buzz. By noon, it hit number 7 on the pre-order charts. By Wednesday, number 2. The reviews started rolling in. Raw. Elegant. Devastating. The story aches in all the right places. A quiet, necessary scream. But the one that hit hardest? A modern elegy to being unseen by the people who should have protected you. They didn't mention names. But everyone who knew me, they knew. Even my old English teacher posted about it. From the girl who never raised her hand comes a book that raised the bar. Meanwhile, my sister went dark on socials. The salon's Instagram vanished. No more hashtag boss life. Only a quiet story circulating behind closed doors about how the family stole from one daughter to fund the illusion of another. That weekend, a bookstore downtown hosted a signing. They printed posters, had a velvet rope, even baked cupcakes with the cover on edible fondant. The line wrapped around the block. I signed copies for girls who clutched them like lifelines. Some whispered, "I'm living this." One cried. Halfway through, I looked up and froze.
Mom.
Standing near the back, holding a copy, not saying a word. She didn't move forward, didn't ask for a signature. She just watched. And when I looked her in the eye, she nodded, not in pride, in understanding, maybe for the first time.
I didn't wave.
Didn't smile. I returned to the next reader in line, because I wasn't there for her. I was there for the girl inside me, who begged them to save the library, and got a locked door in return.
Now?
People were quoting me, and her silence was the footnote. By the second week, my book was everywhere. College syllabi, Tumblr quote graphics, TikTok montages with piano covers and captions like, "She lost the library, but found her voice." It became more than a novel. It became a mirror. People messaged me from countries I'd never been to, told me about mothers who chose sons, fathers who sold silence for comfort, siblings who never looked back. They called it their story, and quietly, mine started to rewrite theirs. Then came the interview request. NPR.
Live.
They sent a car, offered makeup. I declined. The host asked everything: the process, the grief, the line between fiction and autobiography. But her last question? It stuck. "Do you think your mother's read the book?" I paused. "I think she tried," I said. "But the truth isn't for the ones who need to be convinced. It's for the ones who already know." After the episode aired, my sister texted me. First message in 6 months.
Ava.
"Can I ask you something? Am I the villain in your story?" I stared at the message for a long time, then replied, "You're not the villain. You're the consequence."
Read.
No reply. 2 nights later, Mom called. Didn't leave a voicemail. She'd started doing that. Ringing, letting it echo, hoping the sound would erase what she said. But it never did. That Friday, I walked into a bookstore in Brooklyn. Signed the last copy on the shelf. On the wall behind me was a mural of literary quotes. And there, tucked in gold paint, was mine. They sold my inheritance. So I wrote one that couldn't be auctioned. I touched it, not out of pride, but to remind myself, words can be stolen. But truth? Truth has a long shelf life. Fall came quietly. Leaves curled at the edges like paper burning from the outside in. I moved into a brownstone. Bookshelves built into the walls. Floorboards that creaked with memory. It wasn't fancy. It was right. A place where stories didn't get boxed up and sold. They got written. I unpacked my father's last journal. The one they missed when they cleared out his library. Inside the back cover, I found something I hadn't seen before. Pressed into the seam was a photo. Me, age 10, sitting on his lap, holding a book upside down, laughing. On the back, in his handwriting, "She doesn't know the story yet, but one day, she'll write it." I didn't cry. I just sat with it. For hours. Because that kind of love outlives theft. That week, my agent called. "We have international offers," she said. "And TV rights.
They want to adapt it."
I didn't blink. "Only if I keep the final script approval." "Of course," she said. "They know it's yours." And that was the difference. For the first time, everyone knew it was mine. I didn't have to fight anymore. I just had to choose. Meanwhile, Mom started a blog. Living Through Loss, a Mother's Perspective. She posted photos of my sister's clothes salon, captioned them with things like, "Sometimes dreams die, but families survive." She never mentioned me. Not once. But I heard from my cousin. "Your mom's pretending she helped you write the book." I laughed. Then closed the message. Because sometimes the best response is living proof. And every reader, every quote, every girl who wrote to say, "Thank you for telling the truth," was louder than her silence, and far more permanent. The film rights sold by December. High six figures. A female director. All creative control. They called it inheritance. Not because of the money, but because of the cost. I signed the contract with a pen Dad once kept by his bedside. The ink still worked. The irony? The same week the deal closed, Mom emailed me for the first time in nearly a year. Subject line: a small favor. She said she was being harassed by local reporters, that people were spinning the story unfairly, that she never meant to hurt me, that she was proud, and then buried 3 paragraphs down. Your sister's struggling. She's having panic attacks. We're thinking of moving. We could use a little help. Help. Like I hadn't begged them not to sell the library. Like I hadn't slept on a mattress on the floor while writing Chapter 11. Like I hadn't built my entire voice from the rubble they left behind. I didn't reply. Instead, I donated $10,000 under a pseudonym to the local library, the one they almost shut down when Dad died. They named a reading room after him. No cameras. No press release. Just a brass plaque that read, "In memory of Thomas Hale, who believed books could outlive all kinds of grief." That same week, a young girl tagged me in a photo. She was sitting in the room, holding inheritance. Her caption read, "I've never seen someone write about my pain so clearly. I feel real now."
And that
was the full circle moment. Not the money, not the movie.
That.
Because Mom was wrong. Books do pay bills. And sometimes, they pay debts. The premiere came faster than I expected. Red carpet. Soft lights. Quiet power. I wore black. No designer tags. No stylist. Just a locket with Dad's initials inside. The theater hushed as the lights dimmed. Opening scene? A girl walking through a library with dust in the sunlight, running her fingers across spines like they were bones. I watched an actress play me, and it felt like time collapsed. Like every ignored plea, every lost page, every silence I'd swallowed,
was now speaking at full volume.
The credits rolled. A standing ovation. And somewhere, far back in the theater, I saw her.
Mom.
Not in the VIP section. Not even near the aisle. Just present. She left before I could speak to her. Or maybe she knew I wouldn't. The next day, my sister called. Voicemail only. I watched it. I cried. I didn't know how deep it went. She paused. But thank you for telling it anyway. Maybe someone will learn from it. I didn't save the voicemail, but I didn't delete it either. Because growth doesn't always come with grace. Sometimes it arrives late, empty-handed, and quiet. That afternoon, a journalist interviewed me. Near the end, she asked, "If you could go back, would you have tried harder to keep the library?" I shook my head. "No," I said, "because losing it gave me the book, and the book gave me something they could never sell." She raised an eyebrow. "Which is?" I smiled.
"Voice.
And proof. Proof that even if they erase your inheritance, you can still leave behind something bigger."
And now,
the girl who was told books were worthless was being taught in schools. A year passed. The movie won an award I didn't attend to collect. My book was translated into 9 languages. One cover had my father's name tucked in the dedication, bold, gold, permanent. I taught one writing seminar a month. Nothing fancy. Just folding chairs, secondhand notebooks, and a room full of girls who thought quiet meant invisible. I told them what I had learned the hard way. Your story isn't small just because they treated you like background. One day, after class, a woman lingered at the edge of the room. Older, gray streaks in her hair, wrinkled hands clutching a copy of Inheritance. She said nothing at first. Then softly, "I was the sister in someone else's story, and I never apologized." I looked her in the eye. "It's not too late, but it's also not owed to you to be forgiven." She nodded and left with the book pressed to her chest like it might rewrite her bloodline. That night, I visited Dad's plaque at the library again. Someone had left fresh daisies beneath it. No note, just petals. I sat there for a while, not thinking,
Just being.
and then, without really meaning to, I pulled a pen from my bag, opened a blank notebook, and wrote one line. What they burned gave me light, because it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclamation. They took the library, but I became one. And every girl who read my words, every daughter who looked at her family and said, no more. They weren't just readers. They were authors of their own turning point, just like me. And when people ask, would you trade it for the books? I say no, because the most valuable thing Dad ever gave me was the permission to write my own ending.